Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Talk podcast. So, I somehow got very inspired, and to some degree, I must admit, I have been dealing with topics like this or trying to understand not only myself but also others. So, before this is going to go anywhere, welcome back. I hope I've said that. Lately, I've been forgetting to say hello, which is not nice. Um, but really, I want to make clear that this has nothing to do with blaming others, pointing fingers, judgment, or I'm also not trying to get anyone back into whatever, relationship that they had in the past or friendship, whatever, right? To dig back into that emotion. That's not the plan. This is something that I think will just follow us as humans. And the good part about doing this, as I said, is not about the other people. It's actually a way to let go of whatever emotional hurt you're dealing with, big or small, within family, friends, at work, whatever. I think it's helpful to just let go of the pain, the hurt, the expectation, whatever idea that is kind of holding you back in your mind. Because when you do this, you understand, and understanding makes so many things easier, just makes life easier, just makes us as humans. The moment we just force ourselves, really said force, because sometimes we need to force ourselves to understand. And I know some people might be listening and saying, well, I'm always the one who needs to show understanding, right? I get that. Um, but yet you're not really doing it for the other person. You're doing this for you, because what happens is whatever we're carrying along, I don't know why I'm so into this, but whatever we're carrying along, at the end of the day, it's really just you carrying it, right? That other person has moved on with it, gone, whatever. Um, so we need to let go of that. With understanding, it's going to be so much easier. And what's going to happen is you're just going to realize that's tough, right? Because the other people did something, someone mistreated you, someone said something wrong, someone, I get that. But what's going to happen is if you really truly do this, you're going to just see, maybe you just like these other people. In some areas, in some way, shape, or form, sometimes, at least sometimes in life, we've all been there. We've all been that other person, right? And the reason why I say that is this episode that I watched, introduced to you guys. This is the longest intro ever, but it's going to be me talking anyways, just me talking today. um, there was this bad guy idea that she introduced, right? So obviously, I took this whole thing completely different, but at some point she said sometimes you are the bad guy, and that can mean so much. But you can be the bad guy sometimes by allowing certain behaviors over and over, and then you just look at the whole situation thinking, well, person XYZ keeps doing this and this and this to me, but you never realize that it is perhaps just you who is allowing that. So maybe in that case, how I want to take it or how I understood it, maybe you're the bad guy in that scenario, doing this to yourself by allowing another person so much space to even, get to you, get under your skin, right? So, anywho, remember, I had this list of certain things that I picked out, serving other people, which is beautiful, but we need to create boundaries, or how sometimes you can love someone so much, but you might have to, keep them a bit on distance or silence, or just how to break victimhood. I'm going to dive deeper into that because, as I said, there's someone on the way in life. It's just completely random, but that person comes to mind when it's about that topic because they just don't appreciate victimhood at all. Anywho, and also how to react, or not how to react, how is it when our bodies react to lies, when we perhaps even lie to ourselves. But today we'll start with a bit more easy. Not sure if it's that easy, to be honest. So, well, I do not really know if it's that easy, but we're just going to start. We need to start somewhere, which is observing what people do, looking at what people do. And this is something we've all heard. This is the most common advice we would give, to someone we're close to, or let's say we are observing that there's something not really going well in whatever kind of setting. And we would be like, take a deeper look, be more observant of how that person is behaving, right? So it sounds simple, but it really isn't, because even though we are telling ourselves, obviously, I'm taking a look, I think the moment you just like someone and the moment you have already allowed certain things, it will be difficult for you to just now suddenly want to be so observant of certain patterns. So I think the way to go about this is to perhaps start observing your own patterns. I will introduce definitely what we should look after, or how the steps would work into looking into what other people are doing and trying not to repeat those same mistakes. Hopefully it works for myself. But I think it really starts with observing your own patterns. You need to come to agreement with yourself, or accepting that so far something hasn't been going right. And to accept that the only reason why it hasn't been going right has so much to do with you. You need to know your own patterns around people, and that means, how do you behave around different peoples? When do you feel the most comfortable around certain people? And what do those people allow you? What attitudes, what patterns do they appreciate or just enable in that sense when you're around with them, right? So I think, as I said, it sounds easy, but it's going to take some days for sure to sit with yourself and trying to observe your own patterns. But let's just go. When we're trying to look into other people, what they're doing, we're biased, right? We're biased just for the main reason because we would look at people with the idea of how we are, how we would like to see ourselves, not even necessarily how we are, but how we would like to see ourselves. And then we would project that to those people, or we just come with an ideal, of how we would want them to be. So that's already a bias. Sometimes that could be a very tiny thing in meeting someone that doesn't even, perhaps doesn't hold so much ground, but it will already create how you're going to perceive that person, what you're going to allow. I'm just going to give a quick example that just came to mind. Perhaps sometimes we don't even think about it, but notions about tones, how people speak, right? In your mind, you hear a certain voice, you hear a certain tone, you're meeting that new person, that is already going to create a certain idea, expectation of who and what that person is going to be to you, or how you're going to interact with them. Maybe because you enjoy that voice, or it's similar to someone that you know, or whatever, right? So all these tiny things are obviously natural nuances that you cannot always detect. No one is going to meet someone and be like, oh, I'm not going to fall into the trap of your nice voice. No one does that. But just to hopefully get my point across. So we're biased when we meet people, and even when we've already known them. I think the other bias that comes along is, now you've known them, and what you've known so far is what is true to you. And that is going to create a barrier for you to actually see who they are, because yes, you know your best friends so much, but they still change, evolve, have, different things going in their life, may come up with different ideas about life that you may not see, you may not detect because you're just so grounded in, well, I know you. Does that make sense? I hope so.